Once you've glued the pattern together and cut out the size that you need, you're going to lay your body of the dress alongside your larger frill, and we're going to turn that over, draw it on and cut that out, and the two larger frills are going to be cut here, and the smaller frill is going to be turned over and cut there. Once you've drawn on your bodice and your ruffles, you're going to cut that out. Back and front is laid together, so you're going to cut only on the back neckline, and then when you are finished and it's cut out, then you cut one piece down for the front of the neck, and the only additional thing that you need is to lay along the side, along the end, along the self edge. Here you're going to cut the binding for the neck and the arms, and that must lay in the direction of the least amount of stretch of the fabric. And you're going to cut that to the width of your binder foot. Once you have it all cut out, now the next step is to lay all your pieces right sides together, and we're going to start by sewing the shoulders together, and we're going to sew the ruffles together. The ruffles are sewn together at the top, and before you start sewing, you want to fold each ruffle in half, and you want to nick in the center. Just be very careful not to nick too much. It must be less than the 6mm seam allowance, which is what you have with your overlocker. Okay, that is then nicked in the center. And the same with this piece, that is one is already done. And you want to nick the center, in the center of the bottom of the bodice of the dress. And now we're going to overlock that together. It should take 10 minutes to sew this dress. Right sides together, you're going to overlock the sides of the bodice together. Make sure that your differential feed is set to the right gauge so that it does a nice even stitch without making the seam wavy. Don't want to stretch it or gather it. Once you have the side seams sewn, just one pointer, you do not want to sew the side seam all the way. You want to leave a gap of about 2 centimeters, which gives you space to put the binding on, and then you're going to overlock that closed once the binding is on. You can sew one shoulder seam closed, the other shoulder seam leave it open. Then that side you can overlock it all the way from the top to the bottom, and then the hem of the garment, you're going to use a nice lettuce hem, which is formed by pushing the differential feed all the way to the top so that it gathers, stretches the fabric and creates that lovely lettuce hem. Now we're going to put the binding on. Once your binding is on, you can just trim the edges off. And now we're going to take this right sides together, overlock the shoulder closed and overlock the side seam closed, and the garment is finished, bar dethreading. We'll show you what it looks like on the mannequin. You want to take a tapestry needle and just thread that in.